See, it was a big.
I
It was a
did.
big trade.
I did, and I rejected that same offer like a month ago from the other guy.
Did you?
Yeah, he's like, "Hey, man, I'll give you like 2 or 3/4 for a third," and I was like, "What does that do me?"
It didn't do me any good either, except I picked up extra. I moved from 312 to 402, and picked up
Pick
two
up
extra
two.
fourth rounders.
Yeah,
Why not?
I mean, that is a Riley trade though, but I just don't have. I just don't have roster space to be doing that.
I guess
So-
I looked at it as I have no idea what's going to fall to me at 312, so it might as well be 4-2.
Right, and
So.
the thing
You traded 312 for 4-2 and another fourth.
And then a 20/24th. So I got 2/4 for a.
You're just as likely to get the guy at 4-2 that you could have gotten at 312.
Exactly.
Like, when it comes to when it's the 309 and you're like, maybe I'll get this guy in a couple of picks. You might get him in 5 picks too.
Right.
And he's probably going to be trash anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that sucks about this league is there's no taxi squad. So
Right. So you either hit or you don't.
right, the 25 guys on your roster are the 25 guys you carry.
Right.
So it's not like you can, take even multiple fourths and fifths and keep them.
I just figured the 4.02 is probably the next Noah Brown. So
Hey,
mean,
I
Let
took
me ask
Noah.
Kevin-
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You took Noah.
At 305 last year and
Right.
thought it was tremendous.
Haley's like, finally, I got him. Yes.
Oh, I have him in every single league except for one. And the one guy took him not because he even knew who Noah Brown was, but because
Just
I
to
liked
spite
him.
you?
because you liked him.
And that was the 5th round. I was playing with
Spite
fire
pick.
too. But yeah, sorry, Bosch, go ahead.
Okay, so Kevin, if you're a commissioner,
Yep.
would you rather have an owner come to you and say, I don't think I'm going to be back in this league next year. I've already paid for this year. If you'd like to give my spot away, go ahead and give it away now. That person can play for a year on my dime. Or would you rather not know it all and have the person just walk away next year?
I'd absolutely rather have them tell me.
Okay.
100%.
God, Riley,
Why?
I'm closer every day, man.
Don't
Like,
leave me.
I
If you
can't
leave
even
me,
fucking-
I'm leaving this podcast. I'm
I
done.
can't even.
Yeah, because listen, you're gonna.
I'll call that bluff. I don't think you're gonna. I don't think you will.
No, I won't.
You already paid the money. I know you're not walking away from that.
There's so much you can do to screw up someone else's team if they
Exactly.
don't like the moves you make.
I
And
would
you don't-
rather let them do it. Riley
you don't wanna be the guy that-
said Todd Gurley's on the block, and I don't even feel comfortable making an offer because I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna be here next year. So now I don't.
What are you going to do? You're basically paying to set lineups. Is really what you're doing at this point. So we might as well
And-
let someone
and
else
hate
set
it.
the lineup.
and absolutely hate the league.
It's the worst league ever.
Why don't you just both leave? What? Why stay in a
Because
league?
I
you don't
have a
enjoy.
I want to win
I
money.
stayed in it for out of loyalty to Tyler. But I like the group. I mean, I genuinely like JP. I like Hurley. I
So
like
what's wrong
Rich.
with
I
the-
mean, Rich
what's-
isn't super active, but
What's wrong with the league then? Because I find mostly the leagues are
Well-
based on who's in it, right? I mean,
it's not fun. I mean, it's not like the chat basically is dead. I mean,
yeah.
not that a chat has to be active. I mean, like Empire and Supremacy, those aren't active chats except for times of activity. Then they pick up. Every once in a while, they pop with a little bit of chatter, but
I'm waiting to see how the revamp of the Catch 22 leagues goes before I leave that. But I'm
what's
probably
the
leaving
revamp?
that.
What do you mean?
So he's combining them all into. I mean, not that it'll make much of a difference, but it'll be more like kitchen sink, where he's combining them all onto one site and one league. So you'll see more of what's
Really?
going on. I'm assuming that means there'll be a chat somewhere along the line.
I don't know.
Um,
Ryan doesn't start chats in his leagues,
Yeah.
which I wish there was a chat for kitchen sink because I think a lot more could get accomplished in kitchen sink if there was an open chat. Because it's really tough to try and it's tough to try and get a deal done there because literally like you don't know what anybody wants and you don't know who wants Debbie dollars, who wants rookie dollars. Like that league really needs a chat.
And there's no conversation after a trade, so you have no idea what the values are either.
Yeah.
It's really
I mean,
hard to
you
get
see more
values.
kitchen sink chatter in pigs leagues.
Yeah.
Like that's where you see it. But I don't know. There's just I don't know. Plus, for me, it's a draft pick league, which I don't find them intriguing anymore. I was having a conversation with somebody today who was a little bit down on an auction that we're doing right now. And he basically just said, this is kind of why I like draft pick leagues, because I don't feel like if I screw up one thing, it totally screws me up. And I said, this is why I love auction leagues, because there's no place to hide. You can fuck up all you want in a draft pick league. It doesn't matter. The worse you get, the better you get rewarded. But in an auction league, if you screw up, you better know how to fix it. I don't know. To me, it's more high risk in an auction. So that's what I like. Yeah. I get that thrill of living right on the razor's edge is what I find really, really fun. Draft pick leagues, just pick the guy that's next in the order.
Yeah, living on the edge is a good segue into why I'm staying in the league. I hate this one guy so much because he shit talked me the entire year, and he wouldn't trade me my first out of spite because I was trying to trade for my first. Maybe.
Your own first?
Yes, he had my first because I traded it to him in the startup. And so I kind of saw my team going down, so I wanted to get it.
Had to be Whitman, right?
Of course.
Okay.
I hate him.
I was going to say, you traded. That's literally one reason that I want to stay in it too, is because not this year, I will be out, but next year I can build a damn good squad.
If all I have to do is just win money, fourth place wins you like $30 in this league. So I'm saying out of spite.
I mean, but that's fun. At least spite is fun.
Yeah, spite is great. And because my team is decent.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But I sent you guys the an offer I got for Todd Gurley. And it bugged me because
was this your Travis offer?
Yes, I don't get shit talked, but a lot of people around the community know that I like to, not lowball, but I like to start low. I don't like to start high.
No, you
It just
don't.
makes no sense to me. But
it does make sense, Riley, because otherwise you get a reputation of just auto reject.
But then I get an offer like this from a very well-respected guy in the community, and I'm just
because Travis knows how you start, so he starts.
Nah, it wasn't this bad. I would never send this offer. I would never send this offer.
Would.
Kevin, did you see it?
I don't know if I saw it. What was the offer?
So this is a point per carry league. So
quarter point, right?
Quarter point, but still.
Okay.
So point per carry, obviously PPR. I have Todd Gurley. Would you trade Gurley for Carlos Hyde, Cameron Brate, and Robert Woods?
It's also tight end premium, so not that makes a huge difference.
No, fuck, no. I would never send that for.
That's brutal. That's
Riley wouldn't send it for just Todd Gurley. He'd send it for Todd Gurley in a fourth.
That's so bad. That's true.
Was it a joke? Was it a joke offer?
No. The comment said, "Let's talk," and I said, "It's going to take a lot more than that." And then he sent me the peace fingers.
Right.
I laugh about it just thinking.
Travis knows that that's how you do it. You start low to open a discussion. Yeah. That's exactly what you do.
Not
Riley.
that low. I don't think I've ever sent one that
doesn't matter.
bad.
You start low enough. People know that you start low, so they know that all they want to do with you is start low and have a conversation.
I am going to start keeping an Excel sheet of every offer that I make.
Is it a 12 or 14 team league?
12.
Okay. I'm curious now, so I'm putting it in the calculator.
Oh, it's not even half. It's not even half the value. Because I did it just to see, am I missing something? Did Robert Woods shoot up to the 103 value?
But not even any draft picks, just Robert Woods, Cameron Brate,
straight up the three guys for the one.
And who was the third guy?
Kevin, I have the 105, the one
Carlos Hyde.
Oh, yeah, I have the 105, the 114, and then I have 3 picks next year and 2 picks the year after that or something like that. First rounders. Wow. And I was going to offer Riley both my firsts plus a first from next year, which I think would way surpass Travis's offer. But I couldn't.
Yeah, the 105 would by itself.
I couldn't pull the trigger on the offer because I was I don't it. I feel paralyzed. So I either have to decide that I want to commit to this league for 2 or 3 more years, or bolt now. I think.
Yeah, I would leave.
I think it's going to
50. This is not even incorporating the point per carry. 50.3 to 22.1 is the calculated value of that. That's crazy. Awesome. Man. All right. Let's get started.
Do it. Oh, we gotta get. Oh, geez, Audacity. All right.
Yeah. So, Riley, you got your Audacity going?
I've had it pulled up for the last 10 minutes.
Or at least ready. Look at you, ready to go. I like
First
it.
time.
I like it. You're doing the quarterback, right, Riley?
Yes.
Okay. And we don't have a tight end.
Correct. I got wide receiver tonight.
We could do Cameron Brate because his value just might be
Todd Gurley-esque.
Yes, let's have a podcast where Travis gets attacked. That's a good idea.
Yeah, he responds.
He doesn't like to be attacked.
He does not like to be attacked.
I actually love how Travis responded. I didn't listen to Kelly's because I don't like Matt Kelly.
I don't remember that very well.
Well, it was just recent. Apparently, he just went off on Travis in one of his most recent podcasts.
He definitely stayed. I only saw a couple of things on Twitter about it, but I didn't hear the rant because I don't listen to Matt Kelly either. But Travis definitely stayed pretty even keel. He didn't get into it too much.
I was shocked Travis even responded to him on Twitter. When I saw it, I actually DM'd Travis, and I'm like, when I saw Matt say, "Oh, Travis made it to the rescue," or whatever he said, and I just sent that to Travis, and I'm like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
like what?
Because Travis he's a very mild-mannered guy. Like he's very soft.
Like all he did was respond to Matt Kelly, like with an actual fact about something.
That's the best part, right? Like it was an actual, like a good, reasonable comment to make.
It wasn't even an opinion. It was literally just like a stated fact. He's like, "Oh, Travis made to the defense or whatever." So then when Travis responded, I was like, "Holy shit!" I thought he would basically just like ignore it. Yeah, he did not.
Well, John, you had lunch with Travis, didn't you?
I did have lunch with Travis.
So I did too. That was like a year and a half ago, and even in person, he's like super quiet.
He is. He's a relaxed. He is. I mean, but I like Travis. Travis is one of my favorite people in fantasy football.
Yeah, no, like I don't have anything against him. He's a good dude.
Yep.
He must have been drunk or high or something.
Yeah.
I was shocked that he reacted. I was kind of glad that he did. I was glad to see that come out in him a little bit. And then his Dynasty Life reaction was actually perfect. He addressed it and was just like, that's it. I'm just going to like, he said like 30 seconds about it. And that was it. And just kind of moved on and even said like, this isn't a big deal. I'm moving on. Like that's kind of how he just kind of brushed it off, which was perfect because he kind of probably did need to say a little something about it. Like, because people were tuning in to listen. Like Matt Kelly fans were probably tuning in, hoping he'd go back at him.
I was to say, and it probably pissed Matt Kelly off that he just kind of brushed it off. I'm sure.
That's definitely the way to react to Matt Kelly.
Nothing will ever beat the Tim Torch rant, which this league started that, right?
It did. With a trade that would have been so in favor of Matt Kelly if he would have accepted it. It was like Hunter Henry and somebody for Tyler Eifert or something like that. Or like
Willie Snead, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Hunter Henry for Tyler Eifert and Willie Snead. Yes. I think that might have been it. Like, so the Hunter Henry side would be killing it now or whatever. Like, it would so be in his favor.
Yeah, it'd be a lot closer.
He went off on Eifert is nowhere near Hunter Henry in value, and Snead is dead. So
yeah.
Unfortunately, because I have him stashed on a lot of teams. It was one of my buy super cheaps. All right, Kevin.
Yes.
Let's go, man.
We're ready?
Like 3 a.m. already.
Yeah. All right. And you still got to edit a podcast, right?
I do.
All right. So let's get this going. Let's start when I say start in 3, 2, 1, start. Wait, stop. Sorry.
Stop and start. Hold on. I got to start a new one now, right?
Yeah, so start a new one. Riley, sorry about that. Start a new one.
No, you're good.
Close the old one. All right, fire away.
We're good. All right, so in 3, 2, 1, start. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 6th edition of the Dynasty Wall Street podcast. We are back again. I am Kevin Cotillo, and I have with me Riley Bymaster. What's going on, Riley?
What's up, Kevin? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am fantastic.
You know, this whole area that I live in the Boston area, and it's all a buzz because I hear that you're traveling this way. Like, everyone's excited about it. It's just people came in for the marathon this week, and they just didn't leave because they know you're coming.
People plan on asking me who my next Noah Brown is because the first one's actually coming true. So I'm excited for the people.
That's right. We also have John Bosch with us again. What's going on, John?
Not much. I'm just glad we already got the mandatory Noah Brown plug in for the show.
That's right. Should I just
check that box and we can move on?
Should I just go mention Dante Moncrief, Tyler Lockett, and John Brown right now just to get it out of the way?
Go for it. You're done with all three of yours.
All right, that's it. That's good. We are going to bring 3 new players to the table again tonight. And, for those of you who haven't listened and maybe checking this out for the first time, what we do here is just like it says, Wall Street, we're all about the values. Whether the stock market's up or down, we're going to tell you how to get best value for the players that we talk about and probably a lot of other players along the way. We're going to do a quarterback, a wide running back, and a wide receiver tonight. And we'll go through the trade calculator value that you can find on dynastytradecalculator.com. And just want to thank those guys for all that they do and remind you to go ahead and go over there and get a subscription to the calculator because it's an incredibly useful tool. We're going to start off with quarterback tonight, and I believe Riley has that.
Yeah, so this quarterback has seen a bit of a drop in value over the last, I'd say 1.5 to 2 years. I know he hasn't produced a lot, but Jameis Winston, he's 24 years old. He has the same birthday as, the least or the worst co-host on the pod and myself. So obviously that's why I like him a lot. But yeah, so he's 24. He turned 24 in January. So he won't turn 25 until the end of 2018, the 2018 season. His value right now, obviously in a 12-team Superflex league, is 32.4 according to the calculator, and that is equivalent to the 102, which is a 28, and the 206, which is a 4.5. Obviously, I couldn't do the 101 because that value is insanely high, and it's not even close. You'd have to add another first and second to get to the 101. His value is equivalent to the 102 and 206. So in a Superflex league, if you're giving them up for that, you're probably getting one of the top quarterbacks and a dart throw in the middle of the second round. So right off, John, we'll start with you. First off, do you like Winston and do you believe in him? And would you rather have him or the 2 picks?
So in a 12-team Superflex, I want the already in the league established quarterback over the picks. I love the appeal of getting whatever quarterback I want at the 102. Josh Rosen, New York Giants, please, 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 please. But since I don't know exactly what's going on right now with the players and where they're going to be, I'll take Jameis Winston in an offense that is young. They've got young receivers there. They should hopefully add a young running back in this draft. To me, it feels like it's still an offense that can improve. I know he had a down year last year and everybody had high expectations. So a down year makes him trash. This is probably the cheapest you're ever going to get him. Unless he just completely tanks and then he goes to 0. I'll bet that he doesn't do that. He's, like you said, young, got plenty of years left in a young offense. The 102 for me, that feels like a sure thing that I would give up to have Jameis Winston. The 102 can still be either way. Jameis Winston is established and has his job. That 206 in a Superflex, that is kind of a nice little piece right there, but I'd still side with Jameis Winston at that point just because I want the established player. Kevin, what about you?
Yeah, at 102 and the 2.6, I'm probably going with Winston unless I'm in full rebuild mode, probably for the same reasons there. I'm a little more concerned than you are with Winston, I think, just because I do think last year was a little bit of an aberration, I guess, because, he only played 13 games and, it was an off year for him after high expectations. So, but he still, his completion percentage did increase a little bit last year. So that's a good sign. What worries me the most about Winston is the interception percentage, right? He's never thrown less than 11 interceptions, and that was in the last season when he played only 13 games. He had 15 the first year, 18 the second year. So that doesn't seem to be going down, and that makes me a little nervous when you're talking about, guys and how long they're going to last in the league. Now, having said that, he was the number 1 overall pick. They're obviously picking up the 5th-year option on him, so he's got 2 more years, and he'll probably get a second contract because he hasn't played terribly. It makes me a little nervous that his value could continue to dip a little bit, and in a super flex, it's not going to go all the way down to 0 in my mind, but it could continue to decrease, and you're buying at a point where even though it's lower right now, it could get lower. So that makes me a little nervous. But with these quarterbacks coming out this year, even if you're taking a quarterback at 102, like you said, with Josh Rosen to New York, maybe, or, maybe it's Mayfield to the Jets, whoever it is, those aren't guarantees either. So, unless you're trying to do a quick flip where you take them now, or, you take the pick now, and then after the draft, you see where the landing spot is, and hopefully you pick one of those guys and then flip them, maybe midsummer, and try to get some value before you actually see whether or not they can play. That's kind of the move I would be taking if I took that route. So, but I don't know that I want to do that because that's risky as well. So that's the long way to get to. I'd probably take Winston.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys. I'm a really big Winston fan. He's in my top 5 or 6 dynasty quarterbacks. That's how much I believe in him. I believe in the talent. The talent around him too is, probably one of the better, surroundings in the NFL. He's got, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, who I think will establish himself as the number 2 wide receiver. And then you have OJ Howard and Cameron Brate, plus slide in a 2018 running back, and you've got a really good offense around you. And Kevin, you mentioned his completion percentage. One note I had down that it has increased every single season he's been in the NFL. He went 58 his first year, 60 his second, and then up to 63 last season. So, I mean, he's making smarter throws. He is still making some dumb decisions, some Phillip Rivers-esque throws into double and triple coverages. But I mean, I like him. I think he's got a lot of room for growth. And I love the talent. I love the talent around him. So instead of picking one player to compare him to, I wanted to do the 102 and 206. I thought that'd be closer. So I have 5 other quarterbacks right now that we're going to rank with Winston. And I'm going to quick fire them off. So when you guys are ready, you can go ahead. Jimmy Garoppolo, Dak Prescott, Marcus Mariota, Jared Goff, and newly signed Minnesota Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins. So Kevin, we'll start with you. Are there any guys you'd easily take above Winston?
I'm gonna get some crap for this because of who I am.
He's taking Jimmy G.
I'm
at
taking
the top
Jimmy
of that
G.
list, obviously.
I'm taking Jimmy G. I'm a big Garoppolo fan. Look, I could see why people wouldn't take him. I get it. It's still a risk, but I love the situation that he's walking into, and that that offense with a ton of cap space, and they're going to continue to put offensive pieces around him. So I love Jimmy G there. Let me see. So who else we said Cousins. I would take Winston over Cousins. I would take Winston over. I think I'd take Winston over Mariota because I think Mariota's a little too fragile for me. I don't know that he's going to be much better than he was last year, and I don't know that he's going to be much better than Winston. They're probably on par, and I think Mariota's more likely to suffer some injuries throughout his career. What were the other quarterbacks we were working with?
Jared Goff and Dak.
Jared Goff and Dak. All right. I would probably take Winston over. No, I think I'd probably take both those guys over Winston. So for me, it's Garoppolo, Goff, Dak, Winston, Mariota, Cousins.
For me, it would be Goff at the top of the list. I'm a pretty big fan of his. Mariota would actually be on my 2 on this list. I'm still a believer in Mariota. Out of this group, I still like him a lot. I know he had a disappointing year as well, but I think Tennessee, they should bounce back. Hopefully, they have a complete change in philosophy with the complete change in the staff, and hopefully they'll let Mariota do a little bit of that running thing that he's actually pretty good at. I'm really hoping that his downfall last year was due to injury and that he can bounce back up. Dak and Jimmy G, I would take both of them over Winston, and how I would rank those two. I think I'd probably put them about even. I think that's where I'd slide in Winston and then put Cousins last on the list, which feels really surprising. Because I like Cousins and I like the security in a freshly signed deal. But he's not as young. So when it comes down to it with a quarterback, I mean, I think that's going to be the deciding factor for me. Is I would go Winston above Cousins only on that list. One interesting thing with him that I did want to kind of touch on when Kevin was talking about trading him away for a pick. One problem with that is you're losing that year of production most likely, because a lot of these guys that are going to be taken at the 102, they're not likely to play the whole year. You might get half a season out of them, but it doesn't seem at this point like any teams are drafting a starter for 2018. Am I wrong on that?
No, I think you can say that. I think the close one would be the Jets. But I mean, they've already named Josh McCown the starter, which that can change literally any second in the 2018 season. So I think they'd be the closest to starting a rookie.
Yeah, I think you're right about the Jets, but I also think that none of these teams are, while they may not be drafting their starters, none of them are going to be too hesitant to pull a guy.
AJ McCarron.
Yeah,
I mean, for sure.
Everyone's sticking with McCarron, right? But I mean, I think maybe you're talking about if Denver drafts one of these guys, I think they'd probably be open to Keenum for the full year. Tyrod Taylor maybe will have the longest leash out of the other ones.
Arizona?
The Giant, yeah, but even that, I don't think they'd have a problem benching Bradford if someone looked good, or if Bradford, takes himself out by injuring himself. The Giants with Eli are probably another one, but any of these situations I think are going to be tenuous. The Giants probably in Denver are probably the two that where you could see them sitting for the full year, and then
I think all of them have a chance to play, but I think you're definitely giving up starts in your starting lineup if you give away Winston for a pick at this point.
Either way, remember I was saying flip that
Yeah.
again. Yeah, I mean if you're rebuilding, and plus flip, if you're not, flip that again at the end of the summer.
Yep.
When the hype starts to go crazy.
Riley, where do you have him in that list that you gave us?
I'd take Winston over all of them.
Wow.
It's close. Winston and Jimmy Garoppolo are very close, but I would rather have Winston. I could be wrong on that within the next 7 to 8 months. I could be eating those words. But right now, I'd rather have Jameis just because I love the talent. He's one of the top 3 quarterbacks that I've ever seen coming out of college. Obviously behind Andrew Luck, but he's very close. Great quarterback prospect. But yeah, I'd rather have Winston, and then I'd go Jimmy Garoppolo next, and then Prescott, Mariota, Goff, and Cousins are all just jumbled up close for me. Honestly, if I'm going to start up whichever one falls, I'm going to feel the best about.
That's how I feel about the whole group, I think. I think the whole tier is just about the same. Take whatever the best value is.
So that's what I'd noted here after we started talking about this. If you're in a startup draft, or obviously a super flex startup, and you're in the, second round, you can potentially move down and pick up some assets if somebody prefers a Dak, or, John, like you, if you prefer Goff over all these guys and you want to snag him, you can definitely move down and still get Mariota or even Jameis if he's fallen that low.
Yeah, you wouldn't see me trading up for him. I would still sit there. I would just sit there and take whichever one fell.
We all try to trade down in startups, and the only reason we do trade up is because we get bored and we just, we want to move up. So yeah, I mean, this just shows to the depth of the. I'm gonna hear about that for a long time. Hey, I'm still a believer. He's still raw. He's still young. Kaiser and Noah Brown
backing
for
up
the
one
win.
of the best now. Backing up one of the best. So
that's right, and you never know. So yeah, I mean that just shows to the depth of the quarterback class, or the class, but the group right now in the probably the second tier. So yeah, I mean that does it for me. Go buy Winston low if you can. That'll be my parting thought, and we'll move on next to running back.
Yeah, so I have the running back tonight, and I'm going to go with a guy that I can't figure out, and I keep going back and forth on this guy whether or not I really want to buy him or really want to sell him, and I'm curious if you guys can help me change, pick my strategy on this. I want to talk about Tevin Coleman because he's a guy that some people seem to really love. they think that he's the next, he's going to get a starting gig as soon as he's done in Atlanta, and he still has value because he backs up Devonta Freeman, who gets injured. And, there's a lot of things to like about Tevin Coleman. He's been productive when he is on the field. So, but then you also look at, in my mind, you also have to look at the fact that he's a running back that's going to be most likely going to a new team because they just gave Devonta Freeman a long-term deal with a lot of money. So how often do we see the guys that go to their second team and their second contract, break out and be full-on running back ones? We don't see it very often. I'm trying to think of guys that, and maybe you guys can help me. I'm trying to think of guys where you see that happen. Michael Turner's one that I can think of, but that's not great. So
DeMarco did pretty well on his second team.
DeMarco Murray did pretty well, I guess. Yeah, when he, on his second team, but overall, it just doesn't seem to happen very often. And that's what kind of one of the things that makes me nervous about this guy. So his value right now in a 12-team PPR league is a 6.3. So not a lot of value there. It's basically equivalent to the 202. So I want to ask you, John, start off with Tevin Coleman for the 202. Do you make that deal?
I do. I like Coleman, especially at the 202 value. I think I'd be surprised if I could get him for that. I think most people that own Tevin Coleman are Tevin Coleman fans. Feels like they would want like almost the 111, 112. But if I get him for the 202, I would certainly give that one. Like you said, next year he's the free agent. Next year he's the Jerick McKinnon, right? So if I can just wait a year, that 202 is going to have that skyrocketing value when he becomes the signee. But during this year, I've got plenty of opportunities where he can rise in his value. He's got standalone value as is. He's on the field. He makes plays regularly. So he still is already scoring me points. And he does have that. If Devonta Freeman goes down, all of a sudden you have a boom. And you can, if you want to keep him and score lots of points, that's a great strategy. If you want to cash in right then and there, you're flipping that 202 pick for easily a high first. I mean, so I would definitely give the 202 for him. The player you're going to draft at 202 might fall into a role that could be as good as Tevin Coleman. A lot more uncertainty with the running back that you're going to take there. What about you, Riley?
It's Tevin Coleman, and it's super easy for me. I mean, like you said, the standalone value is I don't even know how to say it. It's value in itself. It's incredible. Like, I mean, he's the 1B right now. I mean, I'd probably say he's the number 2. Because I mean, Freeman eats most of the actually rushing carries. But yeah, I mean, he's got 1 year left on his deal. Obviously, they're not going to dump that much money into keeping him when they have Freeman signed. So he's going to be able to test the market next year. And if he can land with the Jets, maybe after they have a Mayfield or a Rosen next year and a built up receiving core, I'd love that. I mean, that'd be fantastic. So, I mean, the 202 is not going to get you much. Like you said, you're hoping that it becomes Tevin Coleman. So why, I just don't understand in making a deal like that. But yeah, love Coleman. I don't think, if he were to go to another team, I don't think he's going to struggle with the workload because he's not like a Lamar Miller, where obviously Lamar had some very high expectations when he went to the Texans, and we found out that, hey, maybe Joe Philbin and the Dolphins were smarter than we thought. But I mean, he's just not that type of player. He's 6'1", 215. So he's a hard-nosed runner. He can run between the tackles. He can bounce it outside. He can catch. He can do it all. Love Coleman. Love his value, especially at 202. Don't think you can get him for 202. I think it's probably going to have to be like 109. I just took him in a startup, and I took him above the 10 or the 108. I took him before the 108. So I was very comfortable with it. But yeah, so that one's easy for me.
That's fair. I'm with you guys on the 202, and I guess I should say that the 202 had a 6.0 value, so you'd probably have to throw in a Riley third-round pick special for that, so just to get the extra juice there. But even still, with the 202 and a third rounder or a fourth rounder, I'm still doing it all day long. I'd probably buy him for anywhere, at the end of the first, anything at towards the end of the first, 1.10 and on. I'd probably need at least a mid first round pick to sell him. I think my concerns with him, like I said, is going to a new team and second deals and all of that, and finding guys that actually produce and become lead backs after that. I do believe that is a concern, but like you guys said, there is standalone value, and depending on where he does land, you might see some value spike. So you should be able to move him pretty easily, especially if you're paying a second round pick for him. So I like that.
McCoy's been pretty good at his second team too.
Very true. That's very true. But
there are some examples. It's just
McCoy, in my mind, though, is an elite back. I don't know that I see Tevin Coleman being an elite runner, like McCoy. Anyway, that's just my thought. But
and he also was pretty good on his first team. So it was
exactly.
he was okay. He was okay.
So there were.
Not that Tevin Coleman's bad. He just has somebody in his way right now. So.
There were 3 running backs that had the exact same value, 6.3. Riley mentioned one of them, Lamar Miller. Kenyon Drake, also a 6.3. And Tariq Cohen, also a 6.3, Riley. So of those guys, is it Coleman above all of them? Or?
Yeah, pretty easily it's Coleman above all of them. The only close one is Lamar Miller, but I have a weird love for him. I've owned him for many years in a lot of places. I just think he's better in a somewhat complementary role. But yeah, with the possibility of Coleman earning a starting gig either via injury or a new contract with a new team, it's still Coleman for me pretty easily.
I think I would take I know I would take Tevin Coleman over Lamar Miller and Kenyon Drake. Those guys both feel like they have dicey situations to me. Tevin Coleman, I think, has an okay situation that can only get better. I'm going to take Tariq Cohen over Tevin Coleman. I like Tariq Cohen. I like his opportunity. I think he has a chance to become a really solid player for me. So I would take Tariq Cohen. I mean, it's not by a lot, but I would definitely, if I had to pick in a startup between those two, I'm picking Tariq Cohen. I think he has the bigger this year, which leads to his value increasing this year faster to me. What about you, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm probably taking Coleman over Miller and Cohen and Drake. Yeah, I'd probably take Coleman over all of them. I do like, and John, we've talked about this a little bit. I do like Drake a little bit more
than me.
Well, than you, but with Gore being there, because it doesn't seem like they're going to spend some more draft capital on another running back. So I think he'll get a pretty good opportunity this year at least. And if it pans out for him, then his value could rise. But I think,
what if CJ Anderson goes and crowds that backfield more?
Yeah, I mean that would hurt. So there's risk there too. So which is why I probably take Coleman over all these guys. But one more, real quick, and then I have a couple of wide receivers too. But I wanted to ask you about one guy specifically, even though the value's a little different. This guy comes in at a 7.2. John, Duke Johnson. Do you take Duke Johnson or Tevin Coleman?
Wow. I think I might go Tevin Coleman. I really like Duke Johnson. Izzy opened my eyes to him last year. He's a hidden gem. People don't value Duke Johnson as they should, but I still think Tevin Coleman's got the higher upside. So when you're this close, the upside is going to be the tiebreaker for me. I think I'd take Tevin Coleman.
Riley, what about you?
Easily Coleman. Duke Johnson will never be. He cannot be a 3-down guy. He's just a 3rd-down guy. Which can I go back to Tariq Cohen? Like, John, do you see Tariq Cohen as having a higher ceiling than Tevin Coleman? Because I think Cohen and Duke Johnson are pretty similar. I'd rather have. Cohen,
they are, but I like Cohen. I like Cohen more than Duke Johnson. So, and you're right. Cohen's never be a 3-down, but I think he will be involved in the offense on a level that will allow him to get plenty of production. I don't think Duke Johnson will be involved in the offense in the same way that Tariq Cohen will. I think Tariq Cohen will get more touches, whether it be catches or the occasional run. So for me, Cohen's up there.
I'm curious. So do you think who has more touches this season, Tariq Cohen or Tevin Coleman? Because I think it's Coleman. Coleman is only fighting.
It's probably Coleman, but I bet you Cohen has more receptions.
That's tough to determine too, because it's a new offense
close.
in Chicago. You're not sure what you're going to get there.
I think Coleman will have more rushes, but I think Cohen will have these two names are too close. Coleman will have more rushes, I think, but I think Cohen will have more receptions. And then leagues with reward receptions, that gives me Cohen. So I'll take that.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I'm just thinking Coleman is only going to fight for targets with Devontae Freeman, Julio Jones, and the occasional Mohamed Sanu, flea flicker touchdown pass that he throws. Cohen's going to. Not for fantasy. He's decent, NFL tight end, but I had a lot of Hooper and he disappointed me.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think Cohen's going to be fighting for targets. Jordan Howard can't catch, but Howard's going to be on the field. And then, obviously you have Trey Burton, Allen Robinson, Taylor Gabriel, who just signed from the Falcons. So, and I think they're going to draft another receiver pretty highly too. So I just see more, a bigger share for Coleman. I see a higher upside for him being a 3-down back and a starter next year. I don't know. I guess we'll agree to disagree on this one.
They're close. I mean, I'm not saying they're not close. They are really, really close. I just like Cohen.
Yeah. They're definitely close for me. I still take Coleman over Cohen. Duke Johnson's a lot closer for me, and only because Riley, I get what you're saying. He's not going to be a 3-down back, but I think his floor is a lot higher. I mean, Coleman could go to another team and be nothing. Duke Johnson's probably always going to be what he is, no matter where he is, with the exception of this year when he plays behind, Saquon Barkley, or if he plays behind Saquon Barkley, where he's not going to see the field. But when he goes to his new team, he's going to be that 3rd-down back again, and he's going to have a high floor. So I think that's one of the reasons I like Duke and put him in that range. All right, really quickly, this is super quick thoughts on these guys because they're wide receivers, but they're all sort of interesting to me. Corey Coleman is a 5.8. Josh Doxson is a 6.6, and Kenny Golladay is a 6.5. So all in the same range. And obviously wide receiver to running back. I'm just kind of curious your thoughts. We'll start with you, Riley.
Coleman. John?
Coleman over Coleman?
Oh, I'm sorry. Tevin. I forgot. Yeah, Tevin pretty easily.
All right. John?
Yeah, I think it's Tevin Coleman over all of them. I don't know that any of the wide receivers have the chance to really have a massive increase the way Tevin Coleman would. So, I mean, their role isn't going to get expanded, doesn't have the chance to have an expansion like Tevin Coleman does. So I'll gamble on Coleman, and if it hits, it's going to hit bigger. If not, they're all going to end up being in the same spot anyways.
I still have a small amount of love for Josh Doxson for some reason, so he's close for me. But other than that, it's Coleman all the way. But we will take this opportunity to move over to the wide receivers. And John, who are you bringing?
All right, so I'm glad I didn't bring Josh Doxson, which I almost did, but I decided to go a little bit lower down in the tier. This is that time of year where people are looking at roster spots. What do I do with this guy that's just kind of clogging my roster? Can I get a pick for him because it's rookie time? Yay, lots of fun. I'm bringing Laquan Treadwell.
Oh, man.
22-year-old wide receiver, still super young, comes in on the scale at 3.8. So there is obviously not a pick that matches perfectly, but we're looking at the mid-second. A 2.06 comes in at 4, and the 2.07 comes in at 3.5. Are you guys given that 2.06 or 2.07 for Laquan Treadwell? That 2.06, 2.07, I'm curious what kind of player you think you're getting there too. Use that in your evaluation. Who's going pick? Who's going Treadwell? Kevin, let's start with you.
I think I'm keeping the picks. It's hard to say. It's, I don't know who you're getting in the 206, 207, but I'm pretty sure you're going to get a wide receiver that you might want to take a shot on before Laquan Treadwell at this point. You're talking about a guy that has 21 receptions in 2 years, and he as a first-round pick, and he's on an offense that he's going to still continue to be completely buried I don't see many targets going his way in this offense. You still have Diggs, you still have Thielen, you're going to have Cook coming back. There's, Rudolph is there. There's a lot of options ahead of him, and I don't know that I just don't see it. So I think you're talking about what, 2 more years then? Maybe 3 if for some reason they pick up the 5th-year option, which I would be shocked if they do at this point. So 2 to 3 years before you see him move to a different offense and maybe get some production. I'll take the picks.
All right, I've got a follow-up question for you, but let's hear what Riley says first. Riley, what are you going, picks or Laquan?
Well, so I have so many bullet points in my head right now that I want to get out, but I know I have to keep it somewhat limited.
All you have to say is John Kelly. Just start there.
No,
John
he's
Kelly,
he's a first rounder in
Noah Brown.
Riley's.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I can't let my head get to me. So first off, I think his value is a little bit lower than that. I think you could probably get him for a late second, probably maybe a couple early thirds. I think I would take the pick because I know I could get him cheaper in November or December when he's still not doing much. Because he's obviously still behind Diggs, Thielen, and the whole squad. I really like him as a talent. I think he needs just to find a new home. But my head keeps going back to Nelson Aguilar. We pretty much thought he was dead, and then he came in and carved out a role for him, and now he's a top 100 startup pick. So the talent's obviously there. I think he's buried, and there's nothing he can do, without an injury. So I'm probably taking the mid-second because I know I can probably get him for a third later.
Do we remember the time in football when we used to say a wide receiver would take a couple of years to develop? We've gotten away from that. I mean, makes sense because, the NFL has kind of gotten away from it. It's either perform or you're kind of gone quickly. All right, so the follow-up question, quick. Kevin, if you have him on your roster, what pick are you giving him away for? Somebody gives you an offer, you smash accept it. What pick?
201.
Well, okay. I'm sorry. What's the lowest pick that you would smash accept? The 301 comes in. You giving him away for the 301?
No. I know it's probably right in that range, the 207, 208 maybe. You start to get a little further away from that. Maybe 210 is the lowest I'd go.
Riley, how low are you selling him for?
102. No, I think 209, 210, because at 210 or 211, who am I getting? Like, I think my guys are going to be gone by then. So I'd rather have the guy with the talent who I know was at one point in time was, a top 2 or 3 rookie draft pick. So I'd stick with him unless I got the 209 or better.
Okay. So with Treadwell, I would take the picks. 205, 206. I'll take the pick. And Riley hit it on the head. If I really want Treadwell, I can probably take the second round pick right now. And then I could literally, after the rookie draft, probably offer a 2019 second and get him pretty easily. And I might be able to even get him for like a 2019 third or like even further out if you have like 2 years. You offer a 2020 second, you're probably even getting him then because people just want to get rid of him. So essentially, you basically just trade a future second for a current second, which feels like pretty good value to me, right?
Yeah. So I was
gonna say fun fact. If you trade Riley any 2019 third, you can get anybody on his roster.
That's true. Go on, Riley. What was your rebuttal there?
Yeah. So I was just gonna say, likely if you're targeting Treadwell and you don't want to give up the 208, 209 right now, wait till the rookie draft comes around. And in the third round, if that guy sees somebody that he wants and you say, give me Treadwell and you get your guy, guarantee he's going to do it. Yep. For me, last year, if Noah Brown's in this draft and I'm sitting there at, 302, you can have Treadwell. Take him. I want Noah Brown. Like, obviously somebody's going to have their guy that falls to the third, or maybe if it's not their guy, they're going to have somebody they see who they really want. And they'll give up Treadwell because, hey, it's been 2 years and he has, like you said, 21 receptions. So
yep. If that team's a quarterback needy team and it's a 12-team regular PPR, that early third round, people might start looking quarterback, and you might think, hey, maybe they want to come up and get their quarterback of the future, and Laquan Treadwell's the price. That's not much to give. All right, so we are going to compare him to a player. Kevin mentioned that Laquan Treadwell was a first-round wide receiver. I mentioned that he's 22 years old. Well, look at this other 22-year-old first-round wide receiver with a value of 3.6, so almost dead even. John Ross. Who do you want? Which first-round which disappointing first-round wide receiver, same age, do you want? Kevin, let's start with you. John Ross or Laquan Treadwell?
Oh,
you cannot take the 2.06.
I'm taking John Ross all day long just to piss you off. It's just because I know you hate John Ross. No, I do think I'd take John Ross anyway, because I don't think you've seen enough of him. I mean, not that you've seen a ton of Treadwell, but
who actually did have the more productive rookie year fantasy point wise?
Treadwell.
Treadwell.
Yeah, but I don't know. I guess it's the injury thing, right? Like if he, I'll take a chance that if he gets on the field this year, he might actually produce. Plus, I don't know that the offense in Cincinnati is as stacked as the offense in Minnesota, and I think there's an opportunity for him to get a shot quicker than Treadwell. So I think if he's healthy and can be on the field this year, they might, you might see him be used. So I'll take that chance and go with John Ross.
What about you,
Kevin,
Riley?
Treadwell over Ross. Back to Kevin. I would easily Treadwell. I just have a question for Kevin. Do you think Treadwell is a wide receiver 3 in Minnesota? Maybe. Behind Diggs, Thielen, and then who's going to be the 3? Because Kendall Wright just signed.
Yeah.
But Cook, I think, Cook probably. But, just on the receiver depth chart, I think Treadwell's the 3. Is John Ross the 3 on Cincinnati? I'm just poking fun at you. This is fun.
He could be the 2. I don't know. To be honest with you, he could very well be the 2.
Because I think Brandon LaFell is obviously going to have his snaps and his body catches, and I think Tyler Boyd's ahead of him. I think honestly, do you think that if John Ross is healthy this year and starts off camp and has a good training camp, you don't think he'd eat into Brandon LaFell's snaps? I think he'd have to. I just think
he'll see the field.
I know he was banged up last year, but he didn't have anything significant. But for some reason, he was in the doghouse. And Treadwell obviously was too with Zimmer for a while now. I just think Tyler Boyd is still a very sneaky option. I think he's a very good deep stash buy low right now.
I really like Tyler Boyd.
I think you meant.
Yeah.
He's close to free.
I really like Tyler Boyd coming out of college. It's already been the extra year with him, and I don't know that I think to him and what he does and what LaFell do is a little bit more in line than what John Ross does, which is more of a speedster guy that goes down the field. I just think you've seen Treadwell get 38 targets over his two years, and I think that you could easily see Ross get 38 targets this year. I don't know what he'll do with them, but I think that's a very distinct possibility.
Can I give a somewhat of a hot take? I think I'd rather have Tyler Boyd than John Ross.
All right.
I think Boyd is safer as an NFL football player.
My waiver wires in leagues with Riley.
I'd already have him.
I can get the 2.06 for Tyler Boyd.
No. I still have a brain.
209.
Yes. I think I'd rather have Boyd. I'd rather have Boyd because I know that. Yeah. I'll stop there. You can come at me on Twitter.
Break the tie here.
Maybe we'll make a little. We'll make a little Boyd versus Ross wager. I'll take that bet.
I like it.
I would be on the Ross side of that bet too. Kevin nailed it on the head. Ross has less opposition. Riley's trying to make the case for Tyler Boyd and Brandon LaFell, which
hey, I never said LaFell. I just said I think he's above him.
I think you said he would take some some targets.
He's gonna
some
play.
targets. I would take John Ross over Laquan Treadwell. This is where I have found where I will take John Ross finally. I will go all the way down here. I will take him. I would not give a mid-second for John Ross either. And I know I can't get him for a third because I offered in every single one of my leagues just to prove a point that I can't get John Ross for a third. So you can't say go get him for a third. It's going to take a late second, which I'm probably still not going to give for either of these guys. I mean, I would want the pick for both instead of either of them. They both just have bust written all over them. But even if it comes down to the two, I would take John Ross because Kevin's right. He's got the opportunity, and he's only got 1 year of failure instead of 2 years of failure at this point. Yes, and that 2 years makes Treadwell closer to his next team, but it also is a second year where he just wasn't able to break out. If you can't pass guys, if you can't be good enough to demand the targets, it doesn't mean you're just going to get them when you go to some other team. So for me, it's John Ross because he has a little more opportunity. All right, we're going to fly through some wide receivers here. This is a weird range where there weren't a lot of comparables other than John Ross. Like he was almost exactly like him. Jeremy Maclin, not even on a team right now, 3.2. Anybody taking Maclin? I assume we're all Treadwell there, right? All right. So now the values go up above, and I'll let you guys weigh in. We've got Cameron Meredith at 4.0, Julian Edelman 4.6, and Marquise Goodwin 4.7. Where are you putting Treadwell on that list? Does he have enough chance? Riley, I'm going to start with you because you seem to like him more than anybody.
I like him, but that list of players, I'd probably put him fourth. I'd put him last because Meredith with the Saints, I like.
Probably.
Yeah. Marquise Goodwin, I think Garoppolo likes him. He's still going to have a role, even though I think they're going to draft somebody or, possibly two guys. I'm blanking on the third, but yeah, Treadwell below him too.
Edelman.
Yeah, he'll have a role. Edelman's close. I think I would do Edelman for Treadwell in like a fourth. I'd probably take Treadwell in fourth if we're being honest. Because I mean, Edelman's Kevin, 32, 33. Yeah. He's not
close. He's closing in on the end for sure.
If I'm competing, here we go. Cliche competing. I'll take Edelman. If I'm questioning it, I'll take Treadwell easily.
What kind of pick? Edelman was actually the most interesting on this list to me. What kind of pick would you give to get Julian Edelman? Not going to do the competing, non-competing, just straight up pick. What pick would you give for Edelman?
I give a mid-second.
Well, you're a Pats fan.
Yeah. I think he's productive. I think he's got 2 years left and he's going to be productive because I think all this garbage with Brady is exactly that. It's garbage. So Brady plays 2 more years and Edelman's his guy. I think he's got value.
What about you, Riley? What pick? And then we'll get Kevin where he puts Treadwell on the list.
If you want a non-biased answer about Edelman, I will tell you, I'd probably give like 210. I'd give 210 for him.
So the extra 4 spots I'd go up is really that big of a deal.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Margins. We're all about margins here. That's a big difference in investing. So, all right, Kevin
is last on that list for me by a mile. Okay. So.
All right. I mean, it's a strange area down there that all those guys felt like they should be way above Treadwell to me. But I think a lot of people look at, those guys as not proven, not necessarily young anymore. I mean, Meredith's not necessarily old, but how is he going to come back? And Goodwin has flashed, but unless he continues to be a favorite of Jimmy G, who's all of a sudden going to have some more little fun toys out there in San Francisco. I don't know. I definitely want to take Treadwell, but I don't know that I really want any of those guys over a mid-second pick. I think I'd take the mid-second over all of them.
Can't fault you there.
All right. So, Kevin, you've got that wraps us up for the players tonight. Kevin, you've got a point for us to discuss about just kind of a general strategy.
And although we weren't talking about very productive wide receivers. It does kind of lead into the discussion point that I wanted to bring up, which is about sort of talking about rebuilds here. We've talked about it, a couple of times throughout this podcast, but and several other podcasts. But a lot of times when people go into we'll call it productive struggle, or however you want to call it, rebuild, whatever you want to say, when you start selling off assets and you start trying to move pieces to get younger and rebuild your roster, I think one of the things that people don't do enough and don't pay attention to is they get in this mode where they're selling off all their pieces. So they sell running backs, they sell wide receivers, they sell quarterbacks, collect all these assets, all these picks to try and rebuild that roster. But one thing I think people need to pay attention to a little bit more is save some wide receivers that can be productive, because it does take wide receivers typically. And Riley just mentioned it when the discussion of Treadwell, John Bosch brought it up, that we used to wait for wide receivers. It takes those guys a little bit longer to come along. So if you're starting with rookies, with new rookies, you may not be able to rebuild as fast if you're drafting wide receivers and waiting for them to develop. But if you hold on to a couple productive wide receivers and sort of mix in, first round rookies and second round running backs, I should say, and those guys who will hit the ground running a little bit quicker and offset your team that way, you might be able to rebuild in, 1 or 2 years as opposed to 3 or 4. So I think my tip, I guess, is to remind everyone to hang on to a couple of productive wide receivers. If you really get to a point where you're desperate and your team's still not going anywhere and you think it is going to be a long rebuild, you could probably move those guys during the season as well. So try to hold on to those guys, see how your drafts go, and try to, accelerate your rebuild by having a couple of productive guys left on your team. John, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I definitely, if I'm going to tear down a team, running back is the first thing that goes. You're going to get the most return, like instantly, because people want that immediate production if they're coming to you. So you're going to get a good return. I will get rid of them in a heartbeat. Tight ends are the next to go in my teardown. Quarterbacks and wide receivers are the ones that I will kind of keep, because they are going to last a whole lot longer. And if I can have a couple of good ones, they're young on my team, 2 years from now, they're still going to be productive, both quarterback and wide receiver. So they are definitely the last to go. And if I'm doing a teardown, I will go out and try and get guys like Treadwell, guys like Ross, those young guys that are cheap right now, cheaper. I would rather put those guys on my roster. Maybe they hit, and then all of a sudden I have that addition too. I'd rather have a boatload of wide receivers in that range and no running backs at all on my team if I'm going through the rebuild process. Riley, what about you?
No, I was going to just talk about, a similar situation I'm in. Usually I'm a very win now guy. I don't like to keep future assets. If I even have a shot at winning, I'm going to trade them for proven production. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing. I went out and acquired, young, cheap wide receivers with projection. So Amar Darboh, I already had Noah Brown, Laquan Treadwell, even a more expensive guy like Chris Godwin, I think, who can have he can see a massive jump in value over the next year or year and a half or two. So yeah, I mean, that's what I did. I'm loading up, and even if 1 or 2 hit, then awesome by that time, because I'll have a couple first this year, next year, because I sold some other running backs and tight ends, just like you said. So yeah, I'd love to trade for the cheap projectable players.
If you're selling off McCoy and Freeman, and you can get a pick plus like a Laquan Treadwell thrown in, hey, that puts you in a pretty good spot. You've got the value of the pick that you wanted. Plus, then you also have that additional young receiver that it's a wild card. It might not pay off, but at least you can invest. You can invest in wide receiver because they last longer. A young running back, if they haven't hit in their first or second year, they're gone by year 3. I mean, running backs don't stick around, so I'm never investing there when I'm looking for anything long term.
Great points there, and I think we, strangely enough, throughout the show, we gave you a lot of names to target on that wide receiver list. So definitely a good method there. That about wraps it up for tonight. We're gonna head out, but you can follow the show on Twitter at Dynasty WallStreet. That's ST for Street at the end of that. You can follow John as at Empire FFL. You can follow Riley as at DTC_Riley B. And you can follow me as at Wally Central. We'll be back in a couple of weeks. All right, stop.
Awesome, guys. That's going to be like probably like right around 47 to 48. That'll be about 50. I don't even think you'll have to cut much of anything in there, really.
Yeah, no, it should be pretty close to where we're at. I think we're at 50, right? So
yeah, that's going to be really nice.
We brought up a lot of guys, a lot of names.
A lot of